Hello, everyone. Welcome to Aligning with Purpose, a podcast where we explore themes of finding your true purpose, from quitting corporate, moving cities, practicing holistic health, and more. Join me as we discover our purposes together. My name is Juli, and I'm so happy you're here. Welcome, Camille. Nice to have you on the podcast today.
Yay! Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to introduce you today. Camille and I know each other from college, and we recently reconnected. And Camille Obata is a spiritual director and cancer mystic. To introduce her properly, she has her own business practice offering spiritual direction, birth chart readings, card readings, and grief accompaniment. She works primarily with women of color and queer POC to provide experiences that awaken their inner knowing, align individuals with their soul's divine path, and invite them home to their body. She's a certified spiritual director and has a master's in divinity with a concentration in interfaith leadership. She loves tending to her houseplants, cuddling with dogs, watching TV shows with her husband, and cozy craft nights with her girls. It's crazy that we reconnected, and it's basically because of this podcast. And I'm so grateful that this podcast has given me the opportunity to make reconnections and to talk to people like you, because you are so cool and the work that you're doing is so important. As someone who is new to spirituality, I love everything that you're doing, and I also want to share all this information out to the world a little bit more. So I'm excited to talk
Aw.
more about you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, literally, I'm so glad you started this podcast because I had no idea what was going on with you and you were going through this whole journey, right? But
Yeah.
it just made me so excited for you. And this is going to be good stuff. There's good stuff here.
I'm I'm so excited. So before we dive into talking about you, I do want to talk about our beauty and humanity segment, which we do at the beginning of each podcast episode. And I'll start with you on anything that happened this week. It can be very small or big. I know it doesn't have to be a grand thing.
Right. Yeah. No, my moments, the first ones that come to mind are so small and just like little things, but it really, I feel like, goes to show how impactful the small moments are for me.
Hmm.
And just I love the saying, like, kindness is free. It
Right.
takes nothing, no money, nothing for you to be kind to someone. And I think about the first one is when I was at the gym this week, and I love not knowing anyone at the gym. Like that's like my space to
Same.
just not be social, no pressure to have to talk to anyone or anything. It's just like my me time. And yeah, so typically I just do my thing and whatever. But one of the I think he was one of the managers, as I was leaving the gym, he made a point to just make eye contact with me on the stairs and just greet me with a really warm hello and to have a good day. And I was like, yeah, that was really nice to just refreshing start to my morning, after I had a good workout. And it just these strangers that we can just pass every day and not acknowledge, but just to say hi to someone who, yeah, you might never see again. It's just yeah, really did lift my spirits in the morning.
That kind of reminds me, I know it's not small talk, but I know a lot of people hate small talk, and I understand why, but even just the simple act of saying hello and going out of their way to make someone feel like seen is so
Yeah.
beautiful, because people could go without doing it too, right? Because it doesn't really affect them, but it does, I feel like, make a big impact on you, even if it was just for like a moment of the day or change the trajectory of your day. I'm so glad you're able to experience that. It does remind me of the gym that I used to go to in LA, where I still remember his face. Like, he was so kind every single time we'd go into the gym. I'd go with my sister, and he'd
Yeah.
always be like, "Oh, it's the sisters again." And it would make me feel good to go and to know that we'd be greeted by someone, that's so kind.
Yeah.
So I love
Aw.
that you experienced that moment.
Yeah, totally. I love that. And the other one, can I share one more?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. The other one I'm thinking of is just interacting with my roommate's dogs that I live with. I don't know, just like moments that I get to just hang out with them, even if it's just like petting them like in the house or like taking them outside and just seeing them run around and like be so playful and wanting to play and just like living their best life. It just like helps me to just remember that life doesn't have to be so serious or like so heavy all the time. That, to
Yeah.
just like appreciate the life of a dog,
Mhm.
it just like helps to like, yeah, like let's just like have this moment where we can just be playful and honestly like I just like absorb their happiness too. I like feed off of it. I'm like, yeah, this feels good for me too to make you so happy.
Yeah, yeah. I can, like, relate to that a lot. I see that dogs are so present, and I think that is there's a sense of innocence and sweetness that come with that. I'll share mine that's sort of related to this. In New York, I've had the craziest puppy fever. I've always been a dog person, and I know I want
Yeah.
one day, but now that I'm here and I see all these cute dogs walking around, I'm like, "Oh my god, I just want one so badly." I know it's
Oh
not,
yeah.
the time and place right now since I wanna be able to take care of the dog and be present with her or him when I get one, but the thing I was gonna mention is in New York, it's such a small area that you're walking every day. Like, New York is or at least Manhattan's pretty small. It goes upwards, so there's a lot of people that live in the city, but the plot of land is not too big, so chances are if you're living here, you're passing by the same people over and over and over, and you just have absolutely no idea. But what gave me the indication that I knew that I was passing by the same people were their dogs, because 'cause I'll remember the dogs, but not the people, so
Yeah.
there are so many times where I see the same dog with the same purple Crocs. It's the cutest thing ever, and I have a
Oh
picture of the
my
dog,
god.
just the dog, not to be creepy or anything. But I pass by the same dogs, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that means I've been passing by the same lady
Person, yeah.
the whole for many, many times." And it just reminded me that the world is so small and big at the same time, and we're living our separate lives, but at the same time, we are doing this together. And it was one of those, moments
Ooh,
of
yeah.
reflection that I
Yeah.
also was able to, it's almost like meta, but there's a lot of beauty in, doing it separately, but doing it side by side with other
Right.
individuals.
Oh my god, yeah, no, I love that. I always love thinking about that, like, "Oh, I am" like, we're all our own main characters in our story, and
Mhm.
so, like, oh, so in some people's stories, like, I'm just, like, the side character that they see every day, like, in their daily routine, but as they are to me, and, like, yeah, but there's just, like, this interconnectedness about it that I love that you pointed out.
I think it's really special, and I know we're gonna talk more about that in this podcast episode, so I'm really excited to dive right into it. Now let's talk about you and have listeners, anyone joining in to hear more about who Camille is. And I want to start off with your early life and talking about how you became you today. I was on your bio actually and saw this that was super beautiful. And your parents share stories about how sensitive you were to others when you were young. And you sat next to a kid on the playground who got hurt, and you're patting their back when they were hurt while they cried. And you also were really present when a kid had a splinter in their finger and you watched a teacher pull it out. So, as a kid, you already were extremely empathetic. And how have those early moments of empathy shaped your understanding of the world?
I feel like when I think back to those moments and just like am playing those memories, it's a reminder that everyone experiences pain and suffering in some way. Everyone has that as a shared emotion. I feel like a lot of our emotions are shared in general, but that's the one specifically that comes to mind. Like when I think of empathy, I think of like that experience of just like shared pain and how tender it is to just witness it with someone. And yeah, I feel like I learned a lot and also like was just like part of like an innate part of me to accompany in that way.
Mhm.
And I feel like those childhood moments were like the purest form of myself in some senses. And like I've ways that I've just like tried to always like come back to myself is like to those instincts of like little Camille.
I think it's really sweet because I think the younger version of ourselves is such a like, we grow so much throughout the years,
Mhm.
and it's not like we completely lose it, but sometimes when you're growing, you do get so many other life experiences, traumas, and different pains, and
Right.
it does, I guess, cover some of those aspects. So
Mhm.
I love seeing it from or hearing like, seeing that on your bio from the very beginning of how you were.
Yeah.
That's so, so heartwarming in a lot of ways. So, I know you mentioned that your empathy was innate, so it wasn't learned at all. For you, it was just this an essence of who you were.
Yeah, I feel like it really was. And I definitely felt like I was socialized to like harden myself and hide how deeply I feel my emotions and which emotions were okay to feel and which ones should be hidden and kept down. And that's like socialization, that's like culture, that's, so many things. And it's really been a healing and liberative process to tend to like little Cam and like really pull her to the forefront of who I am and let her shine and remind her that it's okay to be scared, to be angry, to be overwhelmed, and to tell other people that's how I feel.
I can relate a lot to that, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh," it's like such an emotional thing, like, just even thinking back to childhood and all that, but we're gonna touch on more of this in a bit since we'll talk about what you're working on now. You've also mentioned that you're an empathetic spiritual guide you've been an, empathetic spiritual guide your whole life, and it's something that has felt so innate to you. What does this mean, and can you explain a little bit more about what that means?
Yeah. So I identify as a Cancer mystic, and the term mystic really, to me, comes from like this place of surrendering to the mystery of life, like the beauty in how magical the world is, connecting back to like we're interconnected and not just to people, but to nature itself, right? And to just the world beyond us and the world we can't see, the spiritual realm, all of that. And as a mystic, I just like feel very tapped into the spiritual in the physical. And as a Cancer mystic, I really pull so much from astrology, from my birth chart. I was born with my sun in the 12th house, which means I am just through my life, like the 12th house is about secrets, it's about grief, it's kind of the hidden life. And that's like kind of where my emotions have lived and where my empathy sometimes lives is just like in this hidden part. It's something that I keep inside and like hold a lot. And as a Cancer mystic too, I hold just like empathy for the world in my body. And like that's just being part of being a water sign. Water holds memory, it holds emotions from past, present, and future. And so just like imagine like me holding all of like the pains and the hurts and the love that exists in the world from my ancestors to now. That's kind of like a really, I don't know, zoomed out version of like what I feel like how I'm defining like that role
Yeah.
for myself.
Being empathetic is such a beautiful quality, but I also know how draining it can be sometimes, especially when you're feeling everyone's emotions. How have you navigated feeling, but also putting that boundary
Ooh.
up to protect yourself?
That's been a lifelong journey and continues to be for sure. There have been times in life, like seasons or years, when I didn't have any boundaries or didn't know that I needed to. And that was so overwhelming. And I think when it gets too overwhelming, I just shut down or shut out. And then I'm like going to the other side of things where I'm like so closed off that I like feel like I'm going to explode because I've held all these emotions in for too long, and emotions that even weren't meant to for me to hold. And so I've needed to like really just follow my flow of coming back to myself every day and just being like, okay, like what is it that I need to release after today, right? Like what is mine to hold, what is not? Whose am I holding and whose do I like need to send back to them? I have this like practice every once in a while when I feel like I'm holding something of someone's that's not mine in my body. And it like for me it shows up in my left shoulder. Like I get this pain and this tightness in my left shoulder
Oh,
when
wow.
I'm holding someone that's not mine. And I'll just like take time. Sometimes it takes a while to like kind of figure out who it is, but sometimes it's really quick. It's like, oh, the first person that pops into my mind, or the first thing is usually what it is. And then when I can voice it and when I can let it go and I say, like, to the feeling, like, you're not mine, and I send you back to where you came from, the neck pain goes away.
Oh, wow, that is fascinating. Did you always feel that since you were a kid, or did you start to discover it the more you learned about your empathy?
Yeah, it's something I definitely learned later in life. Like, I learned this practice from my mentor when I was doing chaplaincy training. She's like a really mystical person, and she helped me to like really start to identify the differences between what I feel that's mine and what I feel that I'm feeling for someone else, or I'm feeling that is someone else's. So discerning those two different things. And then like yeah, like tending to what is mine, and if I'm not sure, like tending to the emotion, and then if I feel like my tools aren't working, then I'm like maybe this actually isn't mine to sort through.
I think it's really fascinating that you feel it physically, and I think it's also a good
Mhm.
indication because now you know specifically,
Mhm.
"Okay, like, this is not mine to carry, and let me detach because" or put that boundary to send it back to, where it came from, because it's so important for us to be able to, like, take care of ourselves to do the best work we can. So I love that you're able to, or you found your flow in what you're doing to protect yourself. For other empaths, would you give sort of the same advice on how to, I guess, separate or
Mhm.
to be authentically able to share who they are and to feel those emotions, but how should they protect themselves the best that they can?
Yeah, step 1 for sure is to spend time in your body, like really getting to know yourself, listening to your body wisdom, and however that comes about. Like for me, that's come about through like a lot of practice in meditation and in somatics, and spending time away from people for sometimes for certain periods just to like really kind of reset. And as a water sign too, for any of my empaths that are water signs, like it's so important to be in water, like flowing water. And when I can be in the ocean and like fully like submerge my head, I can release and really like I feel the difference when I come out. Just how much I like can give back, because like she can hold it, like water, like the ocean, she can hold it all. And so just like giving it to her to hold.
Oh,
But yeah,
wow.
so yeah,
I wonder if there's different ones for different signs, because 'cause I'm
I
a earth
know.
sign, so I wonder if for me it's like going out into nature and being present in it, because that does make a big difference
Yes.
for me when I
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Try to like give it to a tree.
Oh, okay, okay. I will have to
Yeah.
try that. Keep hearing such amazing things about the wisdom that trees carry. They, like, take in our stories, and
Yeah.
they're collecting our history, and it's
Yeah.
so beautiful.
And the networks of roots too that
Yes.
interconnect under the ground. So like trees are never like doing it alone.
Yeah, their roots connect with each other. That's their communication to each other, and
Yeah.
if one tree needs more nutrients or more sunlight, that's how they also give it to each other
I
through connecting
know.
through the roots. It's so fascinating and beautiful, but those are
I
things
know.
that we just don't think about on the daily because we're so focused on our lives, which is also, I think that is part of our human experience. I want to segue a little bit and talk about how you became mystical and spiritual. And I know you grew up in a very interreligious household. How did you navigate your family having different spiritual backgrounds?
Such a good question. I don't feel like there was any tension between the different ways of being in my house, like in terms of religious spirituality, faith. Yeah, like my mom identifies as Christian, and she grew up going to like historically, what are historically Japanese American churches. And my dad identified more with Buddhism, and he would honestly not say he was religious, but he would describe Buddhism as just like his way of life, his philosophy. And yeah, I don't know if it's because of who they are or what, but there was never any like conflict in terms of like what religion influenced me in my life. It was just like all meshed together. And so I feel like and in some ways that is Buddhism, like that Buddhists have no problem coexisting with other religions and taking on other religions too, because there's just this like flow, I feel like, that's in Buddhism, this kind of like, yeah, interbeing that's happening where there isn't, yeah, two things can exist at the same time, even if they seem very different or opposed to each other. I think it wasn't until I was actually in seminary, like studying theology and around more people who were also like deeply invested in studying theology, but also like finding whatever spirituality was true to them, that I felt like I discovered my identity as like someone who's interfaith, interreligious, and that my culture and my faith were not something that were separate. They were like totally meshed together and synonymous and influence each other.
I think that's really important because even when you look at different cultures and backgrounds and of who people are, I think we get so caught up with putting labels like, oh, you're half Japanese and half
Mm-hmm.
white, or, and it's like, it's not about the blood quantum. You're still
Yeah.
fully able to accept that full culture and be who you are. And your blood quantum doesn't define who you are and how much you get to identify with something. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And I think, especially when it comes to different spiritual backgrounds, I think there's so much decisiveness. So I think even with your background, I know you talk about spiritual fluidity, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a really beautiful concept because I don't know if it's because of how our brains work, but it's easier for us to compartmentalize things because of how we process information. And because of the open mindedness, I think it's such a good lesson for so many, to know that there's so many ways that we could look at it, and there's beauty in that.
Something about what you were saying like reminded me of, I feel like the decolonization of my spirituality has really been that when I like go to the sources of like Eastern spirituality or like ways of being, those are so much more formless. And I think that had like taking away like the rigidity of the institutional structure has really felt right for me in defining my own spirituality.
And I know you got your master's in divinity.
Hmm.
What called you to pursue this path? I know you grew up in a very spiritual household, and what made you want to take it a step further and pursue your career in it?
Right. I actually feel like it wasn't because of my upbringing at all. Like my parents, like my mom wanted me to go to church and like have a connection to faith and God, but it was never like pushed on me and forced on me. And it was something I like, and I think it had to also be something I like really felt for myself, like this deep connection. And it was Christianity was like the vessel that I moved through to, I feel like, get to the point where I wanted to study theology at the like master's level, but it's like not where I stayed, but it's how I got there. And it was like the important chapter of my life that really gave me some foundation of like what even is a connection to God, divine, spirit. Yeah, I think like once I graduated from undergrad, or like right before I graduated, I had this really prominent like spiritual moment with one of my best friends, Christina, where like we always were talking about spirituality and just kind of like things beyond and having these like really mystical conversations. But there was just this one conversation we had where she was saying, she's like, I just like feel like God is telling me that I need to say this to you. You're going to be a professor, like you're going to go do more school and like teach in some way. And it was just like this really, it felt like it came out of nowhere. But that was like the first moment when I feel like I really trusted my intuition, like my connection to my divine higher self to just like guide me, even though I wasn't sure what the path was going to be. And anytime I like follow those inklings, it has like just like led me closer to what I feel like is my calling, my purpose. And so that one was like kind of the first one that kicked off me even exploring programs and then finding my way to be like, well, I'm like really passionate about my spirituality. So like why not make that my path for, studying for like my masters for graduate school?
Wow, okay, I have so many questions to that. One, that's really cool that the conversation with your friend, sparked something. It was almost like kinda like a download that she got that she was sharing with you, and then you're like, "Oh my god,
Exactly.
yes." And then you're talking about how you might have not known exactly where you're going, but you kind of intuitively it has led you. How did you know it was your intuitive voice speaking to you, and how did you surrender to it so you could fully dive in even without you knowing the clear path? Because sometimes you just don't know, and I think that is, important to touch on.
Yeah, sometimes you really don't know. I really feel like even if it's not the path forever, it's taking you to the next place that you need to go to get more, even more aligned. So I would say, like, it's never wrong to follow your intuition. And I don't know what to call it, but just like one thing that my boyfriend at the time said to me is when I was telling him about this, I was like, "Oh, me and Christina just had this crazy conversation. She said I should be a professor." Like, I don't know, that sounds so like crazy, right? And he asked me, he said, "When you think about this path, does it feel like you're moving downstream?" And it's not like the path's going to be easy, but does it feel like the momentum is with you? Like there's energy that's flowing in that direction that you want to go to. And that I feel like has been such an important marker for me of like just way that I like assess if it's like the right path for me. And yeah, that's just like stayed with me that analogy.
I really like that analogy because I've never heard of that one. And I think I'm someone who can distinguish what my an intuition is. So I trust her completely when I feel something. But sometimes when you're clouded with anxiety and when
Right.
your path isn't fully cut out for you,
Right.
and you're discovering that along the way and trusting the process, there's times where I at least feel like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do with my finances here? What am I going to do with this? Like, there's so many other questions that it does get muddled with your intuition, which your intuition shouldn't feel like fear. So I think that's a really good way to look at it is to obviously like ground down into your body, but to see if there's energy flowing into that direction. Because
Yeah.
sometimes when you get lost, I think that sounds like a good way to see it.
Yeah, and I fully have felt what you feel of like the fears that come up, the like anxieties of like logistically how is it going to work and are these barriers or like these fears that come up signs that I'm not supposed to take this path. And I feel like when I have truly followed something that I'll follow it even though it seems scary and I don't know where I'm going, but there's just like this like light in me that knows to just do it anyways. And there's other times when the fears are like so big that I just trust myself. I'm like, if this fear feels like it's too big to conquer right now, like why don't I just slow down and maybe the timing isn't right? Maybe it's kind of right, but like there's another piece that I'm missing and once that piece comes it'll feel more aligned. But just to like also listen to your fears, like what are they telling you? And to like just really slow down in those moments. And I always come back to the body. So just like paying attention to like what your body is feeling, what it's telling you.
I think that's really good advice for anyone going through moments of discomfort. And what I'm learning is wow, when you feel discomfort, it's actually a good sign because you're not living in comfort and you're changing pathways for you and you have the opportunity to open up different timelines and, different
Yeah.
ways where you could go. And I think it is a blessing that you're giving yourself.
When you said open up like new timelines, it brought me back to like this one course I took in seminary, and it was called process theology. And there was so much of the class that I didn't understand. But one part of it that I did is that like the theory is that basically you're every point you're like in this moment of life and the future is always unknown. There's always like a million different kind of connections and like roads you can take to get to different points. And so when you are at a point where you're making a decision, there's no wrong decision. You're just closing a certain pathway and also opening new pathways once you make one decision. And I always thought that was so cool to think about. Like the future is set based on the decisions that we're making. And every decision we're making, we might be closing a door, but we're opening so many more other potential futures in our life.
To add on to that, I think it's just such a good reminder for everyone that when you close doors, you're opening new ones. And it's so easy to just say it, but it's so true. I
Yeah.
think the more I'm like closing doors, and it's hard, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like there's so many things that wouldn't have happened if I didn't take that opportunity. And if I stayed opening a door that I didn't want, I could have seen my life go a way that I didn't want either. So it's
Yeah.
truly up to you to choose your free will in the best way that you want. And I think that is the beauty of life where there is no wrong answer. And I'm like learning that too. You've done such amazing things so far, and especially
Thanks.
with you creating your own business. And I want to hear more about that because that takes a lot of guts. That takes a lot of opening new doors for yourself too. And how did you get the courage to start your own business in your 20s?
Oh my god. I honestly, like, don't feel like I really had a choice. Of course I had a choice, but I really felt like universe was just as soon as I, like, had the idea or, like, started dreaming of it, the universe was like, "Yeah, you're gonna take this path." And, like, it told me that by closing so many other doors. I was applying to so many jobs and I wasn't getting any of them. People weren't even calling me back, like just all these doors are closed. And I felt so discouraged and frustrated and defeated. And once I let myself feel all of those things, then I came back and I was like, okay, what is the greater message here? Is it feels like I need to take a different path. Like I need to do something else. Like the working for an institution is not going to be for me. Like that's not where I'm called to be. And it's very clear. And even so, like after I've started my own business, I've every once in a while like a job will pop up and I'll apply and then I won't get it. It's just like continually a reminder like no, you're meant to put energy into this thing you're building. And it's absolutely terrifying and it's something that I'm really just taking slow. Like I'm taking bites out of it that are feel right to me, are aligned with my timing, aligned with world universe timing. And so much of it also is a process of like my own healing and liberation. And if I really am wanting to be true to myself, which I am, of like building a spiritual practice that promotes and is all about liberation for ourselves and coming back to our like truest self, then I have to start with me. Otherwise, like, what am I doing? And so that's like what I always like try to come back to every time I feel discouraged or like, yeah.
I didn't know that, actually. I know when we caught up, I was like, wow, you're doing this thing. You started your own business, and that is so incredible, right? Because that takes a lot
Yeah.
of courage. I didn't know that you were applying to so many jobs because I could so relate to that. Before I moved to New York and before I quit my corporate job, I was applying to jobs for a year and a half. I think I applied to hundreds and hundreds of jobs,
Yeah.
got basically no callback, and
Yeah.
the ones with referrals, it would
Yeah.
go to like I think I got like one or two intro calls out of the hundreds that I was applying to, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Am I broken? Like, is
I
something
know.
wrong with me?"
Right.
And it's crazy because I know that my skill set wasn't terrible and I was
Right.
working for big companies. Like that means
Yeah.
nothing, to me
Yeah.
anymore. But I think it was really eating away at my identity because I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm worth hiring.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that led me on a path to discovering myself and to be like, okay, I think there's a different path cut out for me. Well, I didn't know that you also went through that journey.
Yeah, it's crazy. There was one job that I applied to. Literally, I think I didn't get it because I was too authentic to myself. Like, that was the only reason. I was like overqualified. I was like, I could do the job. Like, people liked me and who I interviewed with, but I was just like so honest about who I was that I wasn't fitting the molds that are the idea of who they wanted in their mind, right? Like, so I wasn't performing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
And
isn't
that's
that
why I didn't get
crazy?
it. It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
No, that's the wild thing. Sometimes that's what I notice, like, after my reflection, after quitting, is that they say they want, like, someone who's entrepreneurial and, creative and stuff. And yes, those things are true. There's a lot of talented people that are working in corporate. But I think when it comes to those institutions and those big mega corporate companies, like, they want a level of you to conform and to follow
Yes.
and not
Yes.
question what they're doing. And I think
Yes.
yeah, when you're too authentic, I feel like it raises flags for them, and it's like, so maybe it was protection for you though, that you were meant
Absolutely.
to do this instead.
No, absolutely. I feel like every no is just realignment.
I completely believe that too. And I know starting a business isn't easy, and also getting those no's aren't easy, but that reflection that comes with it is extremely profound. How has being a new business owner as a spiritual director been for you? Are there any challenges? I'm sure there's challenges, but what are your challenges and wins from starting your business?
Oh, yeah. So many, like really every day. The I feel like the most consistent challenge is just facing myself, facing my own doubts and insecurities, fears, and sometimes those things win. And that's when I lose. And it only hurts myself. And then I like deal with it and I keep going, right? And those are the wins sometimes, is just to keep going, even when I feel like I have failed. But other wins like have been that like this past year I like hosted my first like workshop series and am now like working on a new like grief space. Yeah, thank you. I like have had clients, like I've had clients of not just people I know too, but like literally strangers who have found me and been like, I really, resonate with your story. And that's why I would like love to work with you. And yeah, those have been huge wins. And coming back to like what I said before, just like a big win is that I'm trying to build my business in the most liberating way as possible. And I feel like my calling is to teach others and lead others through my own healing journey because it has to start with me. And that feels like a win. Like every time I do that, every time I like am kind to myself and just like give myself grace in the process, it feels like a win.
I love also the active reframing. There's a lot of challenges that come with being a business owner and navigating the space and also doing it on your own, right?
Mhm.
And but being able to see those as wins too, because a lot of those are helping you to gain more information for yourself. I think that is a beautiful way to see things because it does come down to perspective, and I love that take on it. I know you've also mentioned working in retail so you can put in so much into your business. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, totally. I feel like something that has been really essential to me building a practice that feels liberative is that I'm not putting pressure on it to be my primary moneymaker. And so having a job, I really wanted to find a job where it could be a job. Obviously, I'm going to do well in it. I'm going to like perform my best, but it's not going to drain me emotionally and mentally, so that on my days off or my time off, I do have energy to pour into back into like my own business. So working this retail job has provided that for me, has given me this like financial stability to be able to have spaciousness as I grow my practice.
When we can talk about the other things that we're doing, I think it's so humanizing, and that
Yeah.
authentic part is so critical. And I love hearing your story about working in retail so you can create your dream life, or
Yeah.
that you are living.
Right.
And I commend you for it. I think it's incredible. And
Thanks.
yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. I mean, of course, it's like not always easy to be like, yeah, I work retail, like on the side. And on the side, yeah, also like a lot of my hours are going to that, It's so, and I think it sometimes comes up just like yeah, I think it's just like the social pressures or like feeling like I have to like, yeah, look successful in a certain way and feeling self conscious. But it's just like practicing little bits of it, talking about like what I'm doing that is truly my passion, and having that be like the first thing I say when people ask me like, what do you do for work, or what is your job, or whatever, or how are you doing in your work life and stuff. But yeah, I feel like it's hardest like with family for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm here to say that you are so successful, and I'm so
Thank
excited to
you.
continue to see you grow with your business and all the other lessons that you're going to learn with it that you could share with everyone that's also trying to learn from people that are doing it. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of you too, Julie. And same for you. You are successful and you're doing the thing. Like you are living your dream. And I really hope that you have moments where you can just like, even in 6 months, in 3 months, to look back and to really feel like you're living the dream life that you wanted for yourself.
I do want to touch on your business. So what do you offer in your business, and how can people find you?
I offer spiritual direction, which is one on one sessions where we meet monthly. And the purpose of those is really just like listening. It's slowing down and just being present, like practicing presence, whatever comes up in the moment. It's something I like really love to do. And it's different than, I feel like, therapy or coaching. And we're not tracking anything. There's like, for me as a director, like I don't have goals that I'm tracking for my clients. It's really just like what we talk about one month could be so completely different from what we talk about the next month. And I've journeyed with people as they're, navigating grief, or as they're changing communities and kind of changing career paths, even, just to be a steady presence throughout all of the change, to be like someone who they can just be with. Yeah, so that's one offering I do. And then I do one-on-one readings. So I do tarot, oracle card readings, birth chart readings, and I can do that in groups as well. So like group tarot readings or group birth chart readings, which is a lot of fun. And I'm going to start offering to like astrology coaching. And
Oh.
so, yeah, I'm super excited about it. It'll be like we do your birth chart reading for the first probably 2 sessions, and then just like follow up of like, what are the growths that are coming to the surface right now that we can work on? And what do you want to be focusing on? What is universe having you focus on? And so, just like helping someone through those like reflective moments to just like coming back to themselves, having again like a container that they can continue to come back to as like grounding to reflect in and be present to themselves in.
I haven't heard of anyone doing something like you are, so I think that is amazing that you're tapping into this space where there's an obvious need for people to feel that connection and also the resources that you're providing. I am excited to check out your page, and I would love an astrology reading.
Yes, I would love to do one for you. It's
Yeah, I'm
really,
excited.
yeah, transformational for people to just like feel very seen and understand like, oh, I'm not like broken or like, life isn't hard because of no reason. Like it's actually like built into the stars, like built into the chart and helps you to just feel connected too.
Yeah, there's definitely a moment where I didn't believe in it when I was maybe like
Yeah.
10 years ago up until that point. I mean, I was also very agnostic until that point, but the more I learned about astrology and spirituality, I'm like, oh wow, there's so much complexities and there's
Yeah.
so much more than just the month that you're born and what sign that correlates
Yeah.
to. So I think, yeah, that resource is extremely awesome. So I can't wait to see you continue to do the amazing work that you're doing, and I'm definitely going to get that reading.
Thanks. Yeah. Oh, can I talk about one more thing that I'm offering?
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
yeah, of course.
collaboration that I'm doing around grief. And so me and my friend Nordia are trying to build a space, like a community where we can process grief outside of just talking about it. There'll be like time for reflection, but just like how does the body hold our grief and how can we move our emotions through our body and tending to our body first? Because sometimes words don't come and sometimes the words are messy and there's not clarity and it's confusing. And yeah, we're just holding at the center like grief is something meant to be felt in community. And so we want to provide the space to do that.
I think that is something that I could have used, and I
Yeah.
think I'm just
Yeah.
really I think that is just such a touching thing that you're doing because there's so many people that probably are going through some or like there's moments in their lives that they'll go through grief, but they don't know who to reach out to and
Mm.
or the resources that are available to them. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that is just beautiful work that you're doing. And I will definitely link down your website and all of this in the show notes so
Perfect.
everyone can find you and the work that you're doing. On a closing question, I would love to know what aligning with purpose means to you.
Aligning with purpose means coming back to yourself. It really feels like just a combination of like inner child work and healing and connecting to what's beyond you and all of that like coming together. And that's the just like the mess of it is like where I feel like aligning with our purpose comes from. And there's this quote by a theologian and like mystic who I love. His name's Howard Thurman. And the quote in general is like, your purpose is where the world's greatest need meets what sets you alive.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like everyone comes into this world with their purposes and everyone has such different gifts and talents. And when they harness that, they're able to do all the great things that help what the world needs. I'll be thinking about that quote for a long time. This was such a fun conversation and to just chat with you, get to know you more. And I love the work that you're doing. I think it's so impactful and important. So I'm really excited to continue to see what you're doing and excited to support you along your journey too. Where can listeners find you? Your socials, website? I know I'm going to link it down too.
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram at Camille Ray underscore. And I think my TikTok is Camille Rock. And
I
then
like that.
my
I love that.
and then my website, CamilleRay.com.
Got it. Okay, perfect. I will be linking all of that so it's easy to find. I'm excited to share everything. Just to close out, I hope everyone enjoyed this podcast episode. If everyone wants to support Camille or I, feel free to like this podcast episode, follow, subscribe. And if you also enjoyed it, please rate this podcast on Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and also on YouTube. I'm so excited to keep sharing more stories with everyone and catch y'all at the next one.